is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And on this show, we are dedicated to help you to take back time. I know that sounds crazy, right? And it's impossible to take it back, really, because once we've spent it, it's gone. But we can invest it wisely, which means that we'll save more time and energy and even money later. So that's what this show is dedicated to. And I am so excited today that we have our special guest. And today's topic is going to be around accountability. So today I'm excited about our guest to talk about accountability. Demir Bentley is here with us. And let me tell you about this guy. He is a legendary productivity coach and a co-founder of the Life Hack Method. His coaching combines personal accountability with daily practice to unleash your best productivity every single day. His client list is riddled with high-profile names like Facebook, Google, Uber, PepsiCo, and Lexar. But don't worry, it's also good for you. And before starting Life Hack Bootcamp, he worked at the highest levels of government, technology, and finance. And his work has been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and a ton of other media outlets. Quick fun fact, Demir and his wife, Carrie, they live completely nomadic lifestyle, living for 3 months at a time in different cities around the world. And the last few years have seen them living on a boat in Croatia, the Basque country of Spain, a retreat in Bali, islands in Hawaii, and right now live in Medellin, Colombia. Wow, that's pretty cool. So Demir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. I have to say right off the bat, I love your take on investing time. I'm sort of like mildly obsessed with this as a productivity coach. I think we tend to think about time in very linear ways, like I've got time, I've got an hour, and I'll spend an hour, but we don't think about time like a stock that we can invest in.
Yeah.
Right? Like this idea of like, oh, I got an hour. What could I do with that hour that could get me 3 hours? Or what could I do with 3 hours that could get me 20 hours? And it's so funny because that's such common sense in other areas of our life, right? Everybody knows that financially. Yeah, you invest in stocks and you put in $1 and $5 comes out. But we don't really have this around time. So thank you for like bringing that up, because I literally, as I was hearing that, I was like, thank you, somebody else gets it.
Well, I would hope so, right? We're in this business because we both have that passion to help people to think and act differently. And sometimes we do have great practices and habits in other areas of our lives, and sometimes we don't. And so when we think about money, I think it is a great comparison, right? Because except for money we can make more of, and time, when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, I believe it.
So why are you so passionate about productivity?
I mean, my journey to productivity is funny because I think the reason I'm such a great productivity coach is because I'm naturally like the worst at it. I think a lot of people out there can relate to the idea of being smart, but not productive.
Yes.
And that describes me to a T. I've always been smart, but not productive. And so, some of the things that plague people who are smart but not productive is that they can get the grades. It just takes like twice as much studying time because they're so distracted. They can't hit the books the way that somebody else can. They can advance their career, but it takes more work than the average person.
Right.
Or they're always living with that specter of fear. I'm an emotional worker. So there's been 2 weeks at a time where because of my emotions, I can't do any work at work. And, in finance, hiding the fact that I'm basically not getting anything done for 2 weeks creates this like additional layer of stress and anxiety of like, is today going to be, it's like blowing on the dice. Is today going to be the day that I can actually work? Am I going to wake up in a mood to do it? And so all of that stress and fear and anxiety and overworking to get the same results as somebody else, it just typifies my entire journey. And so when I was finally able to learn what ended up being incredibly simple ideas and tools and techniques, I felt like I was like, oh my God, like if I could go back and teach this to myself when I was younger, I would have had a completely different career
Right.
trajectory. Not that I'm not super happy with my life right now, but wow, I've got some clients who are in their early 20s, and I just look at them and I say, you are so lucky.
Yeah.
I had to go through my entire 20s and 30s doing everything wrong. And there's people out there now in their 20s that are learning what we don't teach them in high school. We should teach time management, calendar management, priority management, mental game. We should teach these things to our high school students and our college students, but we don't. And because we don't, we all walk out into the buzzsaw of life, because life has this arc where we get more and more responsibilities and we've got less and less resources to deal with them.
Right.
And so most of my clients that come to me are what I call they're where the two trains have hit. They're usually between their mid 40s and mid 60s. And they've got kids, they've got responsibilities, they've got bills, they've lost the passion for work because it's been so hard for so long that they just don't want to do it anymore. And now they're just in a place where they can't stop because everybody's depending on them, but they have no passion. They never really had a workflow that was efficient or leveraged. And they're just in a place where they're like, I want to give up, but I can't.
It's stressful, right? I feel stressed as you talking about it. It's a difficult place to be. And I think there are so many people out there that are in that space.
Yeah. I mean, so the quick version of my story is I was blessed that my body, before my brain said no, my body said no. And I got, a chronic stress-related illness that ended up having 3 surgeries. And my doctor was, I had the rare sort of gift of my doctor saying, you can't do this. You need to stop right now.
Right.
And for me, being the primary breadwinner, working 80 hours, 90 hours a week in finance, I had to figure something out, and I had to figure something out fast. And it turns out, through a combination of luck, right place, right time, right information, right mentors, I was able to go from working 80 hours a week to 2 hours a week. And it's sort of a funny, sort of quasi-famous story in finance, where I outsourced my entire job to somebody else. But that sort of ignited this passion of wow, I thought I was doing it as good as anybody could do it. And if I was that wrong, that not only did I not have to work 80 hours a week, that I could have been just 2 hours a week. If I was that wrong about this topic, what else is there about this topic that could be learned? I just realized this whole topic of workflow, productivity, we have so much pride around it. I'm doing it as good as anybody can do it. We tend to shut down our learning brain. We don't want anybody to criticize our productivity or our work. We don't want to learn it. Nobody can teach me anything. I'm the expert at what I do. We have to put on that facade. And so, it just made me super passionate about going out there and being like, hey, I had the disease that you have. Let me help you find the cure.
Right. Before you end up in the hospital, right? That's the key. I think you said something that's important is sometimes we don't have anything in our environment that helps us to be creative because it just supports the status quo, right? And so, a little bit of optimization, right, isn't going to get you from 80 hours to 2 hours. It's just not. It might get you from 80 to maybe, if you're lucky, to 60, but it's certainly not going to really be the investment that changes everything, right? That makes that. So I believe in that sometimes we have to, hopefully not in the way that it happened to you, but if we can think about it of what, if we only had so many hours to work. So that was my feeling when I read the 4-hour work week. I was what you're saying. Yeah, that's BS. You went to 2 hours. That's impossible. And once we get past that it's impossible and think, well, what if it was possible? And then we think, well, how would I do it? And really focus on being creative to think about how to do it. We get out of our own way. So that's...
Well, I call this the heart attack test, right? So I've met so many of my clients in their mid 50s, and right when their career is hitting its pinnacle, their body and the years of abuse they put on their body start to take their toll. And they end up having the triple, quadruple, sextuple bypass, whatever it is, right? They have the widowmaker heart attack. And what has happened in that moment is their doctor tells them, you can work, but you can work about 4 hours a week.
Right.
And this is somebody who's been working 80, 90 hours a week regularly. And if you had told that person before they had a heart attack, could you manage your business 4 hours a week? They would say, no way, there's no way I can do it. Can't happen. And once it's a cold, hard reality,
it's
what happens? A combination of things happens. First, people who haven't asked for help ever in their life are forced to ask for help. People that they should have promoted years ago get a promotion in one day. You're promoted, you're promoted, you're promoted, you're promoted. Just everybody's promoted, right?
Right.
Clients you should have fired years ago because they're not paying you a lot and they're taking up all of your resources get fired, right? So a lot of change that should have happened over time happens in 1 week and all of a sudden you're doing it. I've never seen one person who's a client of mine who had that experience happen to them ever have to shut down the doors of their business. They just, through a combination of factors, made it all come together. And like you said, it's the catalyst.
Yes.
You need that catalyst. And hopefully, I try to, as a productivity coach, I say, let me be your heart attack. I don't want you to actually have a heart attack, but let me be that rock in the hard place that forces you to make the adjustments and arrangements and compromises that you've been refusing to make and see that there is a way to do this.
Yeah.
Everybody who asks themselves that question, if I had a heart attack, do I believe that somehow, some way, I don't even know how I could figure it out? Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So super powerful. So tell us, we want to talk today about accountability.
Yeah.
Right. So how important, you said that as a coach, you say, let me be your heart attack. So how important is accountability and having resources, whether it's a coach or something else, resources and ways to hold yourself accountable?
Yeah. So it's interesting. When we started this journey in productivity coaching, I just really noticed this huge chasm between results and the people who are getting incredible results. And we see it out there, the US military, pro sports, music conservatories, even when you think about it, and we don't associate this, but groups like 12-step groups that can take somebody from being like a complete drug addict and loser to like becoming a part of society again. This all happens in the context of groups, accountability groups, right? And so we have all of these examples of people truly becoming exceptional human beings and doing things that we thought would be impossible in the context of a group that provides accountability.
Yeah.
And yet, most people have like their life is riddled with stories of failed accountability, right? I tried this. I joined this person's program. They said there was accountability. It didn't work. I tried to have an accountability buddy myself. It didn't work. I tried to make my wife my accountability buddy. It didn't work, right? And so what we did at the very beginning is we sort of set out, my wife and I are data hounds. So we set out to do a research project where we went and studied what are the accountability groups that are just absolutely crushing it and creating what we call incredible results, right? Like literally hard to believe results.
Right.
Versus the accountability groups that are just sort of like run of the mill. And what we found is one simple thing. Accountability is not a silver bullet. I think we use accountability today as if it's like a salt shaker. Like, oh, let's just spread some accountability on it. It'll make it work, right? But the truth is everybody knows they've been part of programs or worked with coaches or had a program that they were part of where the accountability just sort of just fell apart, just melted, right?
Right.
So our research showed us that about 90%, really it's like 88.7, but I'm rounding it up to 90. About 90% of accountability relationships fail within 2 weeks. And so not only does accountability fail often, it usually fails fast when it fails.
Right.
So
it's like the New Year's resolution effect.
Totally. That didn't actually answer a question. It just created more questions. So now we have two classes of accountability. We have failing and failing fast. And then we have this like incredible accountability that takes people to the highest levels of human performance. Like, so of course the question becomes like, what is that? And that was much harder to untangle. It took us about 2 years of visiting with people and analyzing accountability groups. And what we came up with is actually, I could share it with you right now in 10 minutes.
Yes.
It's called the 4 layers of accountability.
Okay.
Right? So what we found, and this is, by the way, when I tell you this, you're just gonna be like, oh, duh, of course.
Well, a lot of research brings out the oh, duh, right?
Yeah, this is advanced common sense, right? 4 layers. What we found was that people who achieved truly incredible results that they would never have achieved on their own didn't just have one layer of accountability. They had mutually reinforcing layers so that if one failed them, then another would catch them, right? It was like safety nets under safety nets.
Totally.
Right?
I always say for myself and anyone else, you need to have 3 to 4 ways to hold yourself accountable if you're really owning what you want your results to be. So yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
That makes sense to me.
So then what are the 4 layers, right? I mean, the first layer is a bar raiser, right? The truth is your bar raiser could be a coach. That's very popular these days. But back 20, 30 years ago, it could have just been a mentor that you were assigned at work.
Yeah.
It could be a pastor. Some people say it was their dad or their mom. Or for me, it was a drum instructor. I used to play drums for 13 years. And my drum teacher was more than a drum teacher. He was like he just saw me as being capable of so much more than I saw myself. And that's the defining role of a bar raiser. It's a person in your life who, even when you tell yourself, oh, I don't think I could do it, they're like, I know you can do it.
Definitely.
They see what's possible for you way before you see what's possible. And so what's interesting about a bar raiser, the right way to leverage them is you want to get a lot of exposure to them, because even as your brain is coming up with all the fear and doubt and anxiety, with the more that you're close to them, whether it's by the phone or video conference or whatever, the more that you stay close to them, they infuse you with the feeling of like, gosh, maybe I can do this, right?
Yeah.
So just their proximity, their belief in you rubs off on you, right? So that's one way to really use them in the right way. The wrong way to use them is to spend more time trying to convince them that you are actually a loser and that you won't actually be able to do it. Meaning you're trying to get them to co-sign on all of the doubts and fears and BS that are swimming around in your brain. And you know what they're going to say is like, hey, if you're so committed to your limitations, like go live with them. I don't waste my time.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
So what are the other levels?
Yeah, let's do it. And by the way, as I'm going through these levels, don't just agree with me, like sense check it in your own life. Like think back to the times when you created an incredible result. And I don't care who you are. Everybody in life has had at least one time when they surprise themselves. We're like, whoa, didn't think that was possible. Super surprised, right? And ask yourself, was one or more of these layers present? Did you have a bar raiser? The second layer is a buddy, right? And so this is really commonly understood and commonly misunderstood. I think a lot of people think that if two people are holding each other accountable, that's a buddy relationship. And what we found with our research is actually that's not the most effective buddy relationship. The most effective buddy relationship is what I call the exchange your shoes at the end of the day relationship. What I mean is, Penny, if you and I are at the gym together and we say, oh, am I going to see you tomorrow at 6? Sure. And you know, the chances are now 40% that you're going to show up at 6 o'clock.
Right.
But if I give you my shoes and you give me your shoes, that means that if you don't show up at 6 tomorrow, not only do you not get to work out, I don't get to work out. So great buddy relationships in the US military really has taken this to the next level. Your safety, security, and success depends on the other buddy showing up and doing their part. And so that sort of sink or swim linkages, that's what makes a buddy relationship work. And that's why so many buddy relationships fail, is because they're structured in a way where it's like, you end up getting to know each other, liking each other. Penny calls me, she says, Demir, you don't understand, something's going on. And I say, of course, Penny, don't worry. But it's different if you've got my shoes. I might, after 3 or 4 times, be like, Penny, you got to stop doing this because you're killing my workouts.
Absolutely.
By not coming.
Absolutely. It's a whole different level when you're in the boat together. Totally. Different. Yeah.
Totally.
Love it.
So that's the second layer. Third layer is a team, right? And by team, please don't get too wrapped up in like, oh, I'm 45 years old, I'm not joining a sports team, right? No, what I mean is a community of people who are gunning to the same result that you are, and they're holding you to same value. That could be a church, it could be a mastermind group, it could be a coaching group. It's just a group, but there's one thing that we found that completely makes this effective or ineffective. And that switch is respect, what I call respected accountability. You could put me in a group of 20 teenagers in an accountability group, and I would just be like, I'm sorry, I don't respect these guys. I'm not going to let them hold me accountable if I don't respect them. So it's not just being part of a group. It's being part of a group that you identify with and you respect. When you look at people and say, wow, I want to be like her. I want to be like him. I want to be like her, right? It's respected accountability.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Now, of course, people always talk about, oh, it's about the support. It's about the support. I think we're in this like generation where like, no, it's all
support,
about love and support.
Let's sing Kumbaya together.
Way more effective is competition. Where if Penny and I come into the same mastermind group, and I think I'm pretty much at the same as Penny, but then she turns around and gets these incredible results in her business and her life, I'm just going to be jealous. I'll be like, I need to double down. I need to get my butt moving. Like, I think I'm at the same level as Penny, but her results are going up and mine are staying the same. And there's something about being part of a team where the environment creates positive social pressure, especially when one person starts succeeding. And I do this so much I run boot camps where I create these teams of 30 people and I take them through 8 weeks of like hardcore productivity training. And the funniest thing I see, Penny, is that I don't need everybody to succeed. I just need one person to get an incredible result. It's almost
right. And then everybody else
Like you get one cow running and all the other cows are like, they'll just start running too, right?
Right.
And so we do this naturally as herd animals. We will naturally allow ourselves to just get swept away, and all it takes is one match for the whole fire to start.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
And like you said,
layer.
as we're listening, we're like, duh, like that makes sense. And as you explain it, we can also ask ourselves, everybody who's listening is, do I have all of these levels? If my goals are really important to me and I want to own them at the highest level and be accountable to them, all of these levels are so important. So what's level 4?
Last layer of accountability, level 4, is public accountability. And you think about a sports team has this built in, right? Like what tends to happen is like, if I say, I'm going to write a book this year, but I don't really declare it to anybody.
Right.
And I don't write it, what do I do at the end of the year? I just sort of quietly sweep the dead bodies of that failure under the rug, and I hope that it goes away, right? And most of us have these goals. We're littered with these goals: learning to play piano, writing a book, starting a business, all these goals that we sort of declared to ourselves, but then they just sort of disappeared into the ether. Mm-hmm. When you think about your local sports team, they can't do that. If they lose to their crosstown rival, it's going to be splashed across the front page like, the Knicks lose to the Celtics or whatever it might be. Like you are accountable publicly to your fans. It's just built into it. And you see that a lot where there's public accountability built in. And so what's cool is that there's more channels than ever for us to be held publicly accountable. You've seen it when you see somebody on Facebook saying, I'm committing to lose 20 pounds, and they take a picture of themselves every single week and they post it. You've seen somebody use public accountability.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. So like when I wrote my book, I made the cover first and I put it out there declaring what date I was going to do it, because then my feet are to the fire, and we are so much more accountable to other people and what other people are going to think of us if we don't hit the mark of what we say we're going to do. So
a program that we just launched, we had what it's going to be, and then we had a date, and we started taking sales on it. And I'll tell you what, when you've got 100 people pre-booked for a product, you are motivated. You are super motivated to get that product built, and it was done early. So those are the 4 layers.
Absolutely. I love it. So do you have a little bit more time for us to chat a little bit more about this?
Yeah, sure.
I know we're coming to the end, but something came up for me as I was thinking, when I think about accountability and the layers that I also am putting in for myself and asking others to think about and put into place, these are like strategic layers of accountability. And I believe there's also tactical layers of accountability. So in the context of, well, what about planning and scheduling and actually get the time blocked in your calendar to work on these things that are most important, or to take a look at your environment and see that you're, making it easier for yourself by setting your environment up for success. What would you say about that distinction that I'm making there? Like, how do you?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, back to this concept of like, hey, accountability is not a salt shaker that you just spread on anything. I think what people don't appreciate, that I've come to appreciate having done this research project, is that to create an environment that really succeeds with accountability, both tactical and strategic accountability, takes a lot of freaking work. Like there usually has to be somebody who's intentionally designed each piece.
Right.
And they're there being paid or otherwise, they're there holding that space of accountability for people and making sure that each layer is in integrity. And the idea that you're just going to throw that together in a weekend, or you're just going to like, oh, my friends are going to do that, it takes a lot more work. I mean, that's why for us, in Lifehack Tribe, we have a membership community where we've actually engineered all 4 levels. And although I fancy that we have great techniques that we teach people and great information, the truth is the real value is that we're paid and incentivized to hold that space of every layer of accountability. We've got coaching layer, we've got a team layer and a buddy layer. And so when we bring in something, I'm going to bring it back to what you were saying, we have monthly pre-planning sessions. So when we bring in a monthly pre-planning session, it's reinforced because your buddy's probably already signed up to go to that session, right? Your coach is sending you a message saying like, hey, jump into this pre-planning session if you haven't, make sure that you remember it. You've got like a team of people, if you're not there, a bunch of people will. So you'll be the one who's like left out. So you end up having a lot of these layers of accountability engineered in. So I absolutely agree with you, but I would also deepen it and say like, I think we tend to trivialize really amazing accountability like structures and say, oh, I could just do what the US military does. I could just do what what this pro sports team does, and
Right.
not realizing, no, somebody works really freaking hard to create that structure.
Yeah. I think it's more fear that we don't want to be held accountable, right? That there's this, I can do it myself. I'll hold myself accountable because it's easier to fall down and fail and you'll give yourself a break, but someone else won't do that. So I don't know if people trivialize it or they just don't want to engage because they're not really owning the results at the end of the day.
But you and I are, I'm probably speaking to the choir here. I'm not Michael Jordan or LeBron James. That's not my game though.
Right.
My game is my work. And it's the same for you and it's the same for the thing that brings us the most satisfaction, that feeds our family, that forges our mission in life, that's our work. And the funny thing is, so many people talk a big game about, I want to be the best at it. Okay, well, have you engineered the same structure that LeBron James has in his life around you? Because LeBron James, I don't care how talented he is and how physically gifted, he can't do what he does living out of his grandma's basement. Like, he's got a sleep coach. He's got he's got every coach known to man. He's got all the medicine and all the doctors, right? He's surrounded himself with an environment that reinforces excellence, behavioral and performance excellence. And I think we tend to just take it on ourselves and say, well, I need to do everything. I need to create the environment. I need to hold myself accountable. And the truth is you don't. And sort of you can't. You're never going to be able to replicate an environment that a whole pro sports team could replicate to yourself. You have to actually design that around for yourself. And if you do it, yes, you could do it for free. You could do it in a mastermind where you bring your friends together. Just expect that it's going to take a lot of work to sustain and maintain that environment. And I think when we set our expectation that it's worth a lot and it takes a lot to maintain, then we're setting our expectation at the right level to actually use it and value it.
Absolutely. It's so powerful. So I think that's a really awesome research. And I really think and believe in those levels of accountability. And accountability is, I always say, a lot of people think of accountability at the end of a process. Like it's more on we're going to hold you accountable because you didn't do something you were supposed to do. And I always say accountability starts before you start, right? It's the very first thing that you do, because if you don't put those accountability layers into place, then you might as well, already say you're not committed to the highest level of success that you could reach, because you're going to have challenges along the way. And unless you have those layers, you're just not going to be able to be at your best, because you're going to give yourself too many breaks. So I totally believe that. Before we shut down on today's show, what is something else that you think the listeners need to think about or engage themselves with as they're on their path to productivity and success?
I say this again and again. It's work on your work. LeBron James doesn't just play basketball games. He rewatches the tape. He asks himself, how could I have been better? He thinks about minute details like his dribbling technique, and no improvement is too small. He's looking at everything as a whole. And we just don't bring that attitude of excellence to our workflow. We think, I'm just an accountant. I'm just like a doctor. It doesn't matter. Or why should I do that? It's all this extra work. But the benefit is you get to live in this beautiful, glorious way where everything in your environment supports you, so that you just have to do the things you love doing and you're good at doing them. Newsflash, when you're really good at doing something, you love doing it. And so for a lot of people who've lost passion in their work, I'll say, in a weird way, we're trying to get the passion back by just pumping that more and more and more. How do I get more passionate about this job? And I always say, actually, ironically, get better at the job. Because we naturally develop passion for things that were just really damn good.
Get better and get creative. I think sometimes when it's just the same and we're just, the same. So yeah, better by being more creative. And if you don't challenge yourself to the next level, we kind of lose. I think that part of why we love what we do is there's a sense of pride in it, right? Because of the results that we're creating. And then you kind of, like we always do, we hit a plateau. I've been there and I've been here for a long time. And so it's allowing yourself to feel that pride and that creativity and the grit that it takes to get to the next level. It's in the process. It's not in the receiving, right? Of getting there that makes the difference. So one last question, and then I'll let you tell people where they can get to know you more and find out where to find your boot camp. What's your definition of productivity and why?
Yeah, I really couldn't give a flying you-know-what about productivity. I mean, and people are surprised to hear me say that because I'm a productivity coach. It just happens to be the single best way to create the life that you want to live. Like waking up, setting your attitude, like opening your laptop, crushing it, closing it, going back to being a human being. I mean, I'm not here to tell anybody that that's inherently cool. It's not. It's sort of inherently boring. It just happens to create a very cool result. And so my definition of productivity is usually focused on the result. What's the lifestyle that you want to live? So we call ourselves Life Hack Method. We have the Life Hack Tribe and Life Hack Bootcamp. And the reason we call it Life Hack is because at the end of the day, nobody wakes up and says, let me just be more productive so I can be more productive. Like said no one ever. People wake up and they say, I want to spend more time with my kids and have a better relationship with my son. I want to have a better relationship with my wife. I want to contribute more to society. I want to make more money so I can have more financial security from like, there's amazing results that we want to create. And this boring thing that we call productivity, which I will totally admit, freely admit is boring. That's what kept me away from it for so many years, is the thing that can really unlock that lifestyle that you're going for. So that's how I think about productivity. Really, I think about lifestyle way more than I think about productivity.
Absolutely. It's a means to an end, right?
Totally.
So where can people find out more information about your Life Hack Bootcamp and the other types of products and services that you offer?
So we are going to offer a download today that actually has the 4 layers of accountability so that if you weren't scribbling notes furiously, you can actually have our download. And that is at bit.ly/accountability layers. I'll just say it again, bit.ly/accountability layers. And it might even be in the show notes. I'm not sure if that's something that you can do, Penny.
Yes, we will.
Put it in the show notes.
So just say it one more time, accountability
layers.
bit.ly/accountability
layers. And of course, you can always visit us at lifehackbootcamp.com. We are sort of famous for putting out a ton of free information on productivity. So between our YouTube channel, Lifehack Bootcamp, and our page, lifehackbootcamp.com, we've got tons of free trainings and cool stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Demir, for being here. This was awesome, so valuable. And I think because it's about accountability, it's probably one of the most important shows for everybody to listen to. So I hope you guys listened and go back and listen again. Think about those layers and how you're going to put those into place so that you can reach the goals that you have and that you can have the life and the lifestyle that you want. And that at the end of the day, like you said, that's what we're all about. So thank you all for being here. Demir, thank you.
Thank you.
And my name is Penny Zanker, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.